That was Chris trying to come up with the darkest, scariest thing that he's really afraid of in real life. And I think we all are.
I just like the mythology around it. I like the idea of a communal feeling of end times. Like, let's examine that. What is that? What is the human race at the end of its time? Who are we?
I think Chris has the ability, like Rod Serling, to tap into these deep questions that we all have, like, why am I here? What's out there?
It's not just some sci-fi fantasy. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with sci-fi fantasy, but there's a lot of truth and a lot of fascination with what the show represented and the metaphors and the battles between good versus evil within ourselves and the world.
It was dark. Talk about a dark show. And I couldn't believe that show would make it onto television.
My mini theory on television getting darker was, I think it kind of started with Seinfeld, where Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld said, no hugs, no lesson. And then after that, The Sopranos. Like, what is it, the 4th episode? He strangles a guy with his bare hands on a college trip with his daughter.
You took an oath, and you broke it.
And then we get Dexter, and then we get Walter White. Millennium was kind of way before all of them.
If something is driven by character, if you're interested in those people, the rest of it becomes sort of context.
Frank is a real hero. And he's trying to protect all of us from the darkness that he sees inside of himself.
You know, I say about the X-Files, the reason for the success of the show is ultimately Mulder and Scully. It's that relationship. And I believe that Millennium is the same way. I believe it's the power of Frank Black, as played by Lance Henriksen.
Chris once said something to me, and he said that I had to really dig deep to do that character. And he's right. He was right, he saw it.
It was bizarre that it didn't get to the actual Millennium, but we felt we had to deliver some kind of thing which was going to be about order, or at least avoiding breakdown and chaos.
I want to see Frank in our political landscape, and now he would be dealing with all the crazy right now.
Yeah.
I think it's crazier now than it was.
Oh, it's totally crazier now.
We are anonymous.
They're bringing drugs.
There is no evidence that any classified information ended up in the wrong hands.
There was an integrity in Millennium, and now 20 years later, we're seeing all the more reason to have integrity.
We'll start this up again. We got Troy here from
Hello, everyone.
Phil, and go ahead.
Is this going to be? Is this a standalone project, or is it going to be part of a release of the Millennium, all the episodes?
No, this is definitely a standalone project. More of a passion project. As I was telling them earlier, we never thought we'd get into any kind of film festivals or anything like this. This is just us wanting to get it out there that Millennium deserves to be, I guess, respected just as much as the X-Files. Mm-hmm. So it became more of a passion project, and all of a sudden we're looking around and we're in a bunch of film festivals, which is fantastic. So. Yeah. We never meant for it to be in festivals, but now that it is, I'm pleased, very happy.
You didn't, hold on.
Well,
no, no.
You're stealing it.
It's not that you didn't expect it to be in any festivals, you didn't think you'd get accepted.
Yeah, okay, yeah, true.
Which is insane.
Well, yeah, and because also, I mean, this isn't the only, this is kind of the culmination, I think, of your Millennium work.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to go through some of the history that came before this, that actually put you, that actually, I mean, you can do the short version, but that actually positions you to get these guys to talk to you and get them on screen.
Well, I always said I never wanted to be that guy that said a show changed my life. I never wanted to be that guy. I thought it was kind of corny. But then I watched Millennium, and definitely that show changed my life. It turned me into a filmmaker. I run my own television news site right now. Because of the show, I do journalism. I used to run a fan campaign called Back to Frank Black. Yeah. Which, you ever heard of it?
No.
No, okay.
That sounds crazy.
But I ran this fan campaign for about 8 years. The goal of the campaign was to get Fox to do like a television movie or a one-off event series to culminate the Millennium story, because it never really ended. It never had any real closure. So I did that, and during that, I got a chance to talk to a lot of the people that worked on the show, cast and crew, and that's how I became friends with most of these people. So when it came time to do this documentary, all I had to do was reach out, and pretty much everyone said yes to the documentary.
Well, I'll admit during that time, my day job, actually, I'm a computer scientist, and actually during that time I was working on the Y2K bug stuff. So I honestly didn't watch Millennium when it came out, but now I definitely want to go back and see it because I thought this was excellent.
And there's an episode that deals with the Y2K thing.
Well, and I at the time I was with the other guys like, there's not going to be a problem. Your toaster's not going to try and kill you in the middle of the night. That's the Y2K.
I wrote down about 5 questions, but I'll ask you one for now. We can talk later about
Sure.
the 4.
All right. Yeah.
But I have an executive producer question, so that might be relevant. I'm always curious looking at documentaries these days, because some can be done in like $1,000, some can be done with $100,000. So I may have sneaked at what the budget was on this. We don't have to say the number, but I'm just out of curiosity. What would you say took up the biggest chunk of the budget, and what would you say was something that you were able to kind of save some money on that you weren't expecting to?
Equipment we saved money on, because the guy who's a director is also an independent filmmaker anyway, so he had all the equipment that we needed, which was perfect. Number 2, we already had the cast ready to go, so we didn't have that burden to worry about. Money was the problem. So basically Jason Morris, who is the director and the editor, he and I paid for it out of our pocket. I think the biggest expense we had was travel. Travel and hotels was the biggest expense we had, because we had to go to Canada several times, we had to go to LA several times, and North Carolina once or twice, I think, to do shooting. So travel was probably the biggest thing, but most of the money came out of our own pockets. So, like I said, it's a passion project.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just have a question for everyone here, which is,
Sure.
I watched Millennium when it first came out. I'm wondering how many other people remember.
Most people don't know the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember liking the show a lot, actually.
Yeah, most people, when you say Chris Carter, they think X-Files.
Right.
That's the only thing they know. And then when you mention Millennium, they're like, oh yeah, the guy with the lines in his face. I remember him. He was in Aliens, I think, or something like that. Yeah. But like I said, the goal of this project was to get people to see that Millennium was just as good and just as groundbreaking as the X-Files was. So again, passion project.
Well, and I think, again, the reinforcement, as we were talking in there, you actually had the product. Lance Henriksen came to help you promote it, but then what did you end up doing with the money that you got from that? You didn't put it back into your pocket.
No. No. So any money that we're making on this project and projects we've done before goes to charity. Lance has a charity called Children of the Night, which is a charity in LA, which keeps kids off the street and keeps them away from prostitution and drugs and stuff like that. So he's very passionate about helping children. So all the money we make, if we make any money on this, and the other projects we've worked on, goes to that charity.
But, and again, from the theme that I've been pushing all along is the relationships. You built up relationships over 8 years that allowed you to get this passion project that, like you said, you're not really making any money on. But it's now launched your new career into actually making other things. So you got another project in?
So after doing this project, Jason and I really realized that we like to work. We really like working together. So with him and 2 other people that we knew, Carly Street and Mark Francisco, we started our own film company called Resurrection Films. And this is our first major project. We just finished shooting a short called The Dark Road, and we are about to start shooting our first full-length indie feature called Room 19, with hopefully Lance and Joe Flanagan from Stargate. I don't know if you guys watch Stargate SG-1. So he's supposed to be in it as well. Yeah.
But and the one last is to discuss something that is close to anybody's directing and editing heart. You told us in the room there that the original runtime is 3 hours long.
Yeah.
You know, making that decision of what stays and what comes out. And like I said, I had never seen this series, but boy, this really, the story you told through this really has drawn me to it. And because I'm also a huge Lance Henriksen fan, so I guess I'm not that huge because I didn't see the show then. But I've really come into film in the last 10 years, honestly. I was a stage guy, and I've only come into film the last 10 years. But where, you know, those hard decisions, you know, what did it boil down to?
Wow, that's a good question. When we initially started doing the interviews, we thought at most we'd get 15, 20 minutes with each person. And since the show has been off there for 20, 21 years, we decided we would send everyone the questions ahead of time to kind of jog their memories. And when they all came in to do their interviews, I think the shortest one was like 40 minutes. One of them was like an hour and some change, and then he stayed, after we got done filming, he stayed for another 45 minutes talking about stuff about the show. So we had, I think we have about 6 hours of footage, maybe. So it took us a good 3-4 months to decide what to cut out, and I think we may plan on doing like an expanded version of it because there's so much in there that we didn't put in that's amazing. But we want to put it in the stuff that wasn't too, what's the word I want? The stuff that wasn't too
germane to the topic.
Yeah, we wanted to keep it so everyone, even people who didn't see the show, could follow what was going on. And the hardcore fans could be appreciative of what we put out there, and the newbies could come in and say, oh, I might want to go check the show out, and still be able to follow along with what was going on in the documentary without giving a lot away.
Right. And I got to say, it's difficult with, I think, documenting, much more difficult than narrative, because you've written the narrative. Finding that through line of all the separate people, but tying them together where it makes sense, it was wonderfully done. I mean, your editor and the storyteller just did a tremendous job of getting that all just tied in.
What we had was, we had like 10 to 12 like core questions that we'd ask everyone, and then we had questions that we tailored to that actor / that actor's character. And then we took that, and thank God we knew a guy named Joe Madre, who's a writer for this. He co-wrote Lance Henderson's biography, Not Bad for a Human, autobiography. If you haven't read that, go read it. It's really, really good. And he came in and he sat down with us, and he was able to help us find that narrative. And once we found it, it took off. It
was wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you. Anybody?
So you've made me want to watch Millennium. Where's the best place to find it and view it?
That's another thing. It's not streaming anywhere.
Really?
We've been trying for years to get Netflix or Hulu or someone to pick it up. The only way you can see it legally is you have to buy the DVDs.
They don't have it on Vudu or anything like that?
Nope.
Dang.
I'll definitely be buying it.
Nope.
I gotta watch it. Yeah, now.
As we were watching this, I still use Netflix DVD service.
Oh, right.
And it's on there.
Oh, they have it on there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Most people want to know if it's streaming anywhere, and I was like, nah, really not.
Yeah, everybody's into streaming.
But, I mean, you can get the sets really cheap now. It's like $25 for the 3 seasons, so you can get that. But it's definitely worth a watch if you want to check it out.
I just have to tell you, I enjoyed the entire film, but for me, the most priceless comment was when the little girl said, yeah, I got the part, but I didn't care. I didn't even know what that was. I was 5 years old and there was a puppy.
There's a puppy when I was 5. Yeah, that's awesome. But I have to say, you definitely did end it on the right point with Lance. I dare you to put that in.
Yeah, it's funny, when we did an interview with her, name's Brittany Tiplety, and she really didn't remember much from the show because, again, she was 5 years old, so she hardly remembered anything. But she still wanted to be in the documentary, so.
Oh, nice.
Plus, we wanted people to see her now, all grown up. She's 25 now. She was 5 then, and now she runs her own online web service or something like that. And she used to be a ballerina and all this craziness, man. So that was very cool. But yeah, that line is funny.
Well, a lot of child actors, very young, their parents are like, "You've got to get this part. You've got to get this part." Little children. I'm glad to know that she didn't realize what was going on.
Right, exactly. Yeah, she didn't. And plus, that show. I think she said in the doc she wasn't allowed to watch.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Because it was too much for her. She's like, yeah, anything scary, they would just make me go to another room or something like that. So yeah, it was fun. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming.
We have